Zoological nomenclature. Living beings cannot be given ultimate definitions. Any pair of species differ in indefinitely large number of characters which can be described in any number of ways. It is difficult to communicate the descriptions and their updates efficiently among scientists. So, to make a species identify coherently, valid, and easily communicatable, we need to name the organisms according to strict rules. This leads to the development of zoological nomenclature. Nomenclature it is derived from two Greek words. Nomen means name and clature means to call. So, to call by name. So nomenclature literally means to call by name. Once a name is given to a taxon, it becomes a label with which all available information regarding it can be retrieved, ensuring easy reference. The scientific name should be unambiguous, unique, universal, and stable. The rules concerning the names and naming of taxa are collectively known as Code of Nomenclature, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature, International Code of Botanical Nomenclature, International Code for Nomenclature of Bacteria. And history of zoological nomenclature. Zoological nomenclature is a system of scientific names applied to taxonomic units of extant or extinct animals. The rules of nomenclature may be said to have formed for the first time by Linnaeus in his work Species Plantarum in 1753. He developed the binomial system of nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature, two-term naming system, also called binomial nomenclature, two-name naming system, or binary nomenclature, is a formal system of naming species by giving each a name composed of two parts, both of which use Latin grammatical forms, although they can be based on words from other languages. Such a name is called a binomial name or a scientific name. The first part of the name, the generic name, identifies the genus to which the species belongs, whereas the second part, the specific name, distinguishes the species within the genus. As Linnaean rules have so many inadequacies, in 1843, the British Association of the Advancement of Science appointed a committee to formulate general sets of rules for zoological nomenclature, which resulted in the formation of Strickland Code, the first relied code of zoological nomenclature. In 1889, the first Zoological Congress adopted a code proposed by Raphael Blanard, which began the present international rules. In 1901, at the Fifth International Zoological Congress, adopted a code proposed by him, which began the present international rules. And international rules of zoological nomenclature was formed and adopted. The current code of zoological nomenclature was proposed in 1999 by International Union of Biological Sciences and published by the International Trust of Zoological Nomenclature, Natural History Museum, London. So, International Code of Zoological Nomenclature. This code has been adopted by the International Commission on Zoological Nomenclature and has been ratified by the Executive Committee of the International Union of Biological Sciences, acting on behalf of the Union's General Assembly. The code proper comprises the preamble, 19 article, and the glossary. Each article consists of one or more mandatory provisions which are sometimes accompanied by recommendations or illustrative examples. In interpreting the code, the meaning of a word or expression is to be taken as that given in the glossary. The provisions of the code can be modified in their application to a particular case when strict adherence could cause confusion, but this can only be done by the Commission acting on behalf of an zoologist and using its planetary power and never been an individual. In addition to the code itself, the present volume contains a preface by the present and preceding presidents of the Commission and an introduction by the chairman of the editorial committee. There are three appendices, the first two of which have the states of recommendations, and the third is the constitution of the Commission. So, principles, there are certain underlying principles upon which the code is based. These are as follows: the code refrains from violating taxonomic judgment, which must not be regulated. So, nomenclature does not determine the rank to be accorded to any assemblage of animals, but rather provides a name that is to be used for taxon, whatever rank is given to it. Every name within a scope of a code is permanently attached to the name being type. For species and subspecies, type is either a single species or a number of specimens. For genera and subgenera, it is a nominal species. For taxa and ranks of the family group is a nominal genus. The principles of priority is used to determine which of those names is the valid one. Then nomenclatural rules provide maximum stability compatible with taxonomic freedom so that the rigid application of the principle of priority may in certain cases will be set aside by validating a little known or even long forgotten name if it is a long accepted name. To avoid ambiguity, the use of the same name for different taxa must not occur and is prohibited. This is the principle of homonymy. The code provides guidance for zoologists needed to establish new gene names and rules to determine the name bearing type of the taxon, whether any name is available, whether the name require amendment, and what is the priority of the name. The code also provides for its own interpretation and administration by prescribing the constitution and operation of the International Commission on Zoological Nomenclature and the conditions under which the code may be amended. There is no case law in zoological nomenclature, and if the Commission is called on to make a ruling on a particular case, the decision relates to that case alone and does not involve past references. The nature of scientific names: Latin is the language used for nomenclature, as it is not spoken in any particular nation, and national bias can be avoided. Scientific names from subgenera and above are uninomial. Plural nouns or adjectives for names above genus and singular nouns for genus and subgenus begins with uppercase letter. For species, it is binomial nomenclature, and for subspecies, trinomial nomenclature. Species and subspecies name begin with a lowercase letter. So back to Sera. Here we could see binomial nomenclature. Bactocera aberrans nigritus is the trinomial nomenclature. Scientific name should be underlined separately or written in italics. Use of author's name is optional and it is not a part of the scientific name. It is desirable to mention the author's name at least once in a work. If the new name is established anonymously, the term anon is used in the place of the author. Anonymous. Okay. The names of subfamilies to superfamilies as family group names, genera and subgenera are genus group names, and species and subspecies are species group names. The generic name can be abbreviated after it is used in complete form once in the paper. Use of suffix. The code stipulates standardized endings for different levels of taxa. Superfamily, family, subfamily, and tribe, subtribe. Suffixes like NSS is used with taxonomic names based on geographical names. Carolensis from Kerala. Then gender of genus group names. A genus group name that is Latin word takes the gender of what the word is standardized Latin dictionaries. It is formed from two or more components. The gender is given by the final component in the case of a noun. The gender is of that noun in the case of any other component such as Latin suffix, then a gender appropriate to that component. Then Felis feminines, Salmo masculine, then Argonauta masculine from the final noun nauta, Aceila which is a masculine, then Lithodomus feminine feminine from the final noun domus, a home which is a feminine. Then some other examples are also given. If you need to know more about this, just pause the video and read. Thank you. Then a genus group name is that it is a Greek word translated into Latin without other changes taking place. Gender given by that word is standard Greek dictionaries. Then a genus group name is that is a Greek word Latinized with change of ending with a Latin suffix takes the gender from the Latin suffix. If a name is from a noun having gender in a modern European language other than Latin, it takes the gender of that noun. Gender of species group name. The endings of species names is in accordance with the gender of the generic name. If generic name is masculine, the species name ends with us. If generic name is feminine, the species name ends with e. If the generic name is neutral gender, the specific name ends with um. The endings of species name is dependent on the gender of personal names from which it is originated. If name originated from a masculine name, it ends in I. Then if the name originated from my name, it ends in AE. If names of man and woman are together used, specific names ends in noun, and if they only women, then the names ends in ARUM. Okay. Then use of parenthesis. Parenthesis. Author's name is put in parenthesis or brackets. When species is transferred from one genus to another, this is a new combination. Okay. So this new combination is the first post-original combination of any generic name with a previously published species name. The use of square bracket, author's name and date in square bracket indicate that name has been taken from a same work other than original work. It suggests original anonymity. Anonymous. Original one is anonymous. The work of worker and the original author of the name is unknown. Then use of punctuation marks, comma is used in between author's name and the year. When the other author makes use of published name, it should be written after the original citation and separated from the letter by or. A dot and semicolon, a semicolon or colon. Mm, Monroe made use of the name validity published for the first time by Bessie. No apostrophe, hyphen, or ligated letters should be used. Such characters should be corrected. Then use of in ex sensu stricto, sensu lacto, non or nec propert partum. I'm not sure about the pronunciation of these words. Pardon me for that. In is used to connect the names of two persons, the second of which is the editor of the work in which the name was published for the first time. Ex meaning according to is used to connect the names of two persons, first who published the name and the second who proposed the name. Then sensu stricto denotes the use of taxon in the strict sense of narrow sense. Then sensu lacto meaning broad sense is used when a taxa with all its subordinate taxa are considered together. Then non or nec means note denoting the actual authority of the name. Then propert, only a part of the taxon described by a previous author is being referred to by the writer. Then partum is used to mention the author who brought about changes in the description of species published earlier. Use of in ex sensu stricto, sensu lacto, non or nec, prepared and partum. There is also some examples associated with this topic. Just read them carefully. Then different types of names, descriptive names, name based on a character of a taxon. Globosa indicates the round shape of globe-like shape. Then ecological names, name based on the habitat, subterraneous, like living underground. Parasitus means parasitic habit. Geographical means name based on the locality from which the type specimen was called or based on the general distribution of the species. Such geographical names are very useful even if general species of the genus are from the same locality, since the geographical name clearly indicates the original locality or region of the type of the species or general distribution of the species. Then patronymic names, name based on a person. A person's surname is taken as a root of an Latin noun to which I is added for masculine name and AE is added for feminine name. Generally, these names are given in honor of an eminent person or of a significant contributor to the concerned field of or a person who collected the specimen concerned. It can be based on a person who has helped the researcher considerably in his work. However, patronyms should always be used with restraint. Then names without meaning. Latinized names follow formed by joining letters without any meaning, like Fantana. Then preoccupied names. Names already in use for another taxon with different type. Then rejection of names. A published name which does not meet the requirements of rules of nomenclature is considered a rejected name. Any one or more of the following situations lead to the rejection of names, like non-nudum. Nomen nudum. A published name which does not meet the requirements of rules of nomenclature. Names published after Linnaean period should have a diagnosis of or a description followed, and in the case of genera with a designation of type species. A manuscript name is a unpublished nomen nudum. So nomen confusum, it is used for name mostly in botany, which is based on a type consisting of two or more entirely discordant elements. If an author publishes unknowingly or knowingly a new taxa based on a type specimen of plant which has a bud with inflorescence on one other taxa attached artificially by a person, the name is known by nomen confusum and will be rejected as per code of nomenclature. Then nomen dubium, when a name of a nominal species for which available evidence is insufficient to permit recognition of the taxonomic species to which it was applied, then that name is known as nomen dubium and will be rejected. If this available name whose genus cannot be identified, and this name should, although is a correct name of some species, but which one is not known, then nomen obilitum. If a senior synonym has not been used for 15 years, 50 years, I'm sorry, 50 years or more since its formation, it is considered a long forgotten name and loses its validity as per the pre 1973 Code of Zoological Nomenclature. In such a case, the competing junior name, which was widely used during that period, becomes a valid name. However, there are strong criticisms in the commission for this rule, and it was later specified that such junior names had to be used by at least 5 different authors in at least 10 publications during this 50-year period in order to make the rare senior name invalid. Otherwise, there will be a great amount of controversies happening because of this law. Then, nomen conservanda. So, nomen conservanda, when widely used, junior names are considered valid against strict priority of using many little known senior synonyms. These junior names are considered names of nomina conservanta by the Code of Zoological and Botanical Nomenclature. Nomina rejecta or regicinda or regisanda. I'm not sure about the pronunciation. So, when a name is rejected by the Commission of Zoological or Botanical Nomenclature, it is known as rejected name. Just rejected name, that's it. Then, nomina ambiguum. In botany, a name will be rejected when it is used for different taxa and become a source of mistake. Then, next topic is about principles of nomenclature, which we will be learning with the help of next video. Thank you for listening.